Okay, guys, are we live? Because the internet cut out and I don't know what happened. Alright, hope everything's fine. Okay. Hmm. How's the sound? Is the sound okay? Alright. Don't know if you guys could hear me. Right. Okay, it says I'm live. Right. Okay. Um, hmm. Sound check. Sound levels look good. Let's go studio mode. Display, video capture. Okay. Okay. Think I think we're probably okay. Yes. All right. Looks like we are live. Okay. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Everything sucks. Ah! If you guys are younger than me, you guys probably don't know the reference, but people my age, you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Dang. I was like a young college student. Wow. I'm 33 now. I was, I was 20 or 21 when I first saw. I was 20. Yeah, I was 20 when I first saw that video. Yeah. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Effing thing sucks. Okay. Actually, yeah, my internet sucks. So, yeah, but we are back. We are live. Okay. Part 2. Part 2. Okay. Okay. This guy right here. Okay, so we stopped at this guy talking about some nonsense. I'll just rewind it. Okay, it's at 1350. Let's go back to 1330.
And not Eastern Orthodox, but rather they're Asiatic and is Muslim, right? So the Republic of Dagestan, for example. One problem is that a lot of Russians from the Russian Federation are actually not Slavic and not Eastern Orthodox, but rather they're Asiatic and is Muslim, right? So the Republic of Dagestan, for example, has a lot of Asiatics. You wouldn't look at them and say, this guy's a Slav, but they're under the Russian Empire. They're not Eastern Orthodox, but they are Muslim. So a move that we're seeing Putin do, you can watch his speech that he did, February of this year. And he's doing a State of the Union address, and he's got everybody out there, and he's doing the whole thing, reading the paper, and the cameramen are pointing at different guys. And he starts talking about the holy books, and the camera points to the Russian Orthodox patriarch and some head imam, Muslim, that are sitting next to each other. And so Putin is framing the conflict in Ukraine as an attack against the holy books. And then they kind of they're reframing this to where it's this Abrahamic, Eastern Orthodox, Muslim together kind of thing, which is contradictory in several senses, but they're trying to make it work. So that's kind of a thing that's going on. The Russian Orthodox Patriarch Kirill, has said that anyone who dies in this war fighting for Russia has washed away his own sins, regardless of whether or not he is an Eastern Orthodox or an atheist.
Okay. Okay. Uh, wow. This guy's taking things literally out of context on purpose. And, okay, so I have a feeling this guy did not watch like any video with some proper translation. What I'm assuming is that he probably was either watching a video with either a liberal Russian from Russia or a liberal Russian from Ukraine, or a Russian speaking Ukrainian who was showing him a video on his phone somewhere and inserting his own translation and his own explanation of what it means to this guy, and he's taken all this information at face value. And then he's presenting this disinformation to the public. Wow. So regarding Putin's speech, Putin's talking about family values, right? Russia is a secular state, okay? Putin's not hiding this. Putin's not hiding the fact that the government is a secular government, right? And they respect the faiths of the recognized religions in Russia. And guess what? Protestants are also a recognized religion. Roman Catholics are a recognized religion. And guess what? This is not an ecumenistic move. I don't know what he's trying to portray here. I think he's trying to hint at some kind of ecumenism here, but it's not. It's simply Putin is just trying to unify the citizens, saying, hey guys, we all have family values. We basically believe in these values, right? Like basically LGBTQ ideas. And this guy, this soy boy, he's not mentioning that. He's not mentioning the fact that Putin in his speeches talks about how, like in the West, like basically there is no more like mother and father. There's like two dads, two moms, right? There's degeneracy, perversions. Children are being forced to undergo all these procedures. All these evil, degenerate things are being done to children in the West, and these are against the values. I guess you could say against all the mainstream religions, basically Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. This is not some kind of weird ecumenical trap that Putin is trying to do here. No. Also, look at our government, right? Look at the George Bush era, right? Because look at what happened during the Bush era. Like when Bush prayed to God, he prayed to, like in his mind, he prayed to a God that appeals to Christians and Muslims and the Jews, right? Because America is a secular nation itself. We are a secular government. And so obviously a nominally Protestant president will appeal to all religious patriots in the country. Look at the American military. I don't know if this soy boy served or not. I did. And I ran into different sorts of chaplains in the military. And most were Christians of some sort. And there's Roman Catholics, Orthodox, and Protestants. And you have Jewish chaplains and you have Islamic chaplains. Like, this is not some kind of ecumenical trap. The U.S. military, well, I don't know about 2023, but back in 2011, the U.S. military respected all religions of every person serving in uniform. And also, the U.S. Constitution respects, well, 2023 though, so it's hard to really, yeah, it's hard to really see if we have any respect anymore as religious people at all in this country. But formally, this country is supposed to respect the religious values of people of all religions in this country. And here's the thing: in this country, you can have any kind of religion. In Russia, like they're fighting cults. By the way, this show is called Cultish. This show is called Cultish, and guess what? In Russia, cults are illegal. What's funny is that they're trying to frame this as this kind of cult mentality, I guess, because it seems like they're trying to frame Putin as this cult of personality, and I guess the people on this show, Cultish, are trying to present it this way as well. But they don't realize that in Russia, cults are illegal. That is why there are no more Mormons, there are no Jehovah's Witnesses. They exist in secrets, but officially they basically have no more power, no more influence anywhere, because they are cults. They are degenerate cults. They're illegal. And so Russia does have, in the government, in the Russian government, you do have a religious department with representatives from all the major religions in Russia. And so you have a representative of the Orthodox Church, obviously, that one's a given. And then you have a representative of the Protestants, a representative for the Roman Catholics, the Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, and I think maybe Hindus too. But that's basically what it is. Like, Putin is saying, hey, in our society, right, what unites us is our family values. Remember, Putin is running a secular state. He's not running a state that has a state church. He's not doing this, right? The Russian state church, oh, actually, sorry, there is no Russian state church, sorry. But the Russian church, the Russian Orthodox Church, does not support ecumenism. And so, regarding what Patriarch Kirill said, I have major doubts, and I guarantee this guy took it way out of context. Also, the Orthodox Church does not actually believe in like holy wars. That's more of like a papist thing, but we do believe that wars can be spiritual, because you cannot really separate the spiritual from the material, because like a lot of wars are basically spiritual in a way, because I recommend looking up Dr. Michael Heiser. He has some very interesting points. Despite being a Protestant, Dr. Michael Heiser has some interesting points about spiritual warfare, how like it also affects the physical world, how like when one army takes over another country, and how there's some kind of sort of spiritual plan behind it. It's pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting idea. But this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Let me play you a clip by Colonel Douglas McGregor.
It's not going to fall apart. Russia has become more cohesive. This is a state that rests on the foundation of Orthodox Christianity and Russian ethnicity. Now, there are plenty of people inside Russia who are not ethnic Russians. Those people are treated very well. They are treated as equal partners inside Russia. All you have to do is look at the Chechens, and the Chechens are brilliant soldiers, by the way. I keep hearing people say, well, they're not really that good. Well, you could not be more wrong. Those people are superb, and they are fiercely loyal. And by the way, if you go back to the Tsarist period, every Tsarist army had contingents in it that were Kazakhs, Uzbeks, Chechens, others, Turkic peoples, Tartars, working with them and fighting with them against whomever the enemy was, whether it was the Ottomans or the Austrians or whomever. So the point is that Russia is more cohesive than we are. If you're looking for internal unrest, discontent, divisive forces, and they are fiercely loyal. And by the way, if you go back to the Tsarist period, every Tsarist army had contingents in it that were Kazakhs, Uzbeks.
Okay, just to clarify, Colonel Douglas McGregor, he's not talking about Cossacks, he's talking about Kazakhs. Two different nationalities. Cossacks are basically Russians who have like their own autonomous culture within Russia and Ukraine, right? Those are Cossacks. He's talking about Kazakhs. Kazakhs are spelled K-A-Z-A-K-S. Kazakhs, they're from Kazakhstan, not Cossacks, where spelled C-O-S-S-A-C-K-S, Cossacks, right? Those are Cossacks, and those are Russians basically. Those are Russian elite warriors. They have their own history, but Kazakhs with a Z, they're from Kazakhstan, and so that's what he's talking about.
Chechens, others, Turkic peoples, Tartars, working with them and fighting with them against whomever the enemy was, whether it was the Ottomans or the Austrians or whomever. So the point is that Russia is more cohesive than we are. If you're looking for internal unrest, discontent, divisive forces, you can find those in spades inside American society. But that's not the case in Russia at all.
Exactly. Like Russia, just like every European country, will have racial minorities. This guy right here, let's go back a bit. I don't know, at 13, right here.
Is Muslim, right? So the Republic of Dagestan, for example, has a lot of Asiatics. You wouldn't look at them and say, this guy's a Slav, but they're under the Russian Empire. They're not Eastern Orthodox, but they are.
Well, there is no Russian Empire, by the way. Russia became a federation when the Bolsheviks took over completely and divided Russia into a federation. Before that, you had natives living in Russia because the western part of Russia, that's where all the ethnic Russians come from. They come from the Ukrainian area and northern Russia. Like northwestern Russia and like Ukraine, that's where the Russians come from. And then as Russia grows and expands, they had like their own Russian version of Manifest Destiny, and they kept going east, settling Siberia, discovering other native populations, and basically settling. And what's interesting is that they left the native populations alone. They just kind of said, okay, just don't mess with us, we won't mess with you, kind of thing. And that's what it was. They did not have to put anyone in reservations like the way the Americans did when they had the Western expansion, the Manifest Destiny to go west. Well, the Russians went east, and of course, when they went east, they basically just said, "This is all Russia. This is Russia." They kept settling east, and they just started claiming it for Russia. So they went beyond Europe, went further east, and started settling. And by the 1700s, Russia was already in Alaska. Russia was on 3 continents: Europe, Asia, and North America. Russia was already on 3 continents already by itself, without an empire, by the way, without actually becoming an empire. When Russia became an empire, it basically grew in size. And Russia's first empire was declared in 1725. But by that time, Russia already, but without the empire, was already the largest country on its own without even having its own empire. And then, of course, having its own empire kind of just, that's a whole different story. But within Russia itself, as Russians kept exploring the east, Siberia, they met other groups. You had Tatars. And of course, they knew about the Tatars before because Tatars used to invade them with the Mongolians. Some of the Tatars went to Crimea and settled in Crimea, right? Some of the local Tatars who were from Siberia, they just stayed in Siberia, right? And Russians would settle all that area. Okay, so post revolution, when the communists take over, when they start creating the Soviet Union, they also tried, because the communists were, let's say, the early Bolsheviks, like of the 1920s, not the 1930s, but the 1920s, the Bolsheviks, the original OG Bolsheviks, who were like the founders of the Soviet system, they decided to kind of allow minorities to have more representation in the government. The minorities did not really care about any representation. They just kind of enjoyed their own lifestyle, and they only went to war when Russia called upon them to go to war. Colonel Douglas McGregor explained to this in his interview I just played for you guys. Colonel Douglas McGregor explained this, how Russia had cohesion, and you had Chechens and Kazakhs and others fighting for Russia whenever they had to, right? But then the communists, what they've done, they've turned Russia by itself, Russia proper, not what was left of the empire. What was left of the empire became other Soviet republics, but Russia itself was divided into a federation, the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic. And Russia had autonomous republics within it. And so you have the Tatar Autonomous Republic, you have the Bashkirs, Chechens, that's a whole different story. Then you have all these other autonomous republics or autonomous regions within Russia. And so it became a federation. But majority of Russians, from the western part of Russia to the eastern part of Russia, the majority population is ethnically Russian. Now, according to the English version of Wikipedia, for some reason, conveniently within a year, they went from like 86% ethnic Russians to 71% ethnic Russians. Kind of sus there. But still, the vast majority of Russia is full of ethnic Russians from the west to the east. And so you have racial minorities with their own little groups. Oh yeah, Dagestan Republic. This guy even mentioned Dagestan. Okay, so I believe in the context that he's mentioning all this is because, like, I don't know why he's saying they're Asiatics. Like, is he trying to imply Russians are Asiatics and they're dominating Russia? That's really dumb. If that's what he's implying, he's really dumb for doing that. Because, like, we have black congressmen, we have black senators. Does that mean that, like, these people are in charge of America? Like, does that mean whites are a minority in the U.S. government? You know, it's ludicrous. It's ridiculous. Like, is this what he's implying? That the people in the Russian government are not actually Russian? Like, seriously, is this what he's implying? Because I'm trying to figure out what's he trying to say here. Because then he just switches over to their whole religion stuff. I mentioned to you, but like he's trying to kind of make it sound like it's ecumenical. That's the perception I'm getting. It seems like he's trying to make it seem like there's some kind of ecumenical like convergence going on. I don't know, but this guy doesn't seem to know what he's talking about. He's just conflating things and into one big thing. And he's trying to make it sound like it's something bad, or I don't know. But majority of Russians in the Russian government and throughout Russia's population, majority is ethnic Russians. Then you have ethnic minorities. In this country, we have ethnic minorities who are natives to this country. We have basically Native Americans, right? We also have Hispanics from Mexico and so forth, right? We also have this diversity. We are a secular state that has no state religion, and every nominal president that we had respected all the religions, even the moderate Muslims during George Bush when we were going to war in Iraq. We had moderate Muslims serving in the military, and whenever our presidents would pray to God, it was this abstract generalized God for all the religions, right? Despite the fact the president himself being nominally Protestant, that was irrelevant. U.S. presidents would pray to this generalized version of God of the Abrahamic faiths. So like why? So why is it like bad for Putin? Like I mean, obviously, as an Orthodox person, I wish Russia had an actual state church, right, where basically it was very clear who's truly in charge, right? But Russia is a secular state, very similar to the United States when it comes to that regard. But I don't understand why this guy just does not see himself as a hypocrite at this moment. So yeah, this guy, like he already irritated me in the first live stream, and he just like this soy boy. I don't know what he's trying to prove here. I don't know what he's trying to do. Like is he trying to say that like Russia not having like interfaith violence, interracial violence is like a bad thing? Like I remember watching a Chechen leader speaking out. And this is like, because Chechnya itself is an autonomous republic within the Russian Federation as well. And so, like, by the way, regarding Islam, by the way, yeah, Dagestan and Chechnya, they're full of Muslims, but within you have some Christian communities there. And you go throughout Russia, it's mostly going to be Orthodox. Throughout majority of Russia, it's Orthodox. Dagestan and Chechnya are super tiny. They're really tiny. And like just look at a map of Russia. Look at Dagestan. Look at Chechnya. They're really tiny. And so going back to this Chechen leader, so you have Ramzan Kadyrov. He's the president of Chechnya, and then I believe his second in command. He made a statement saying that yes, ethnic Russians should continue to reproduce because ethnic Russians are the ones who are protecting all the racial minorities from killing each other. Because he stated that if ethnic Russians who are the majority, if they basically become a minority themselves, then all the other minorities will be exploited by the West and they'll be killing each other and destroying each other. And so he prefers that ethnic Russians stay the majority. This is a racial minority speaking out, saying that he wants Russians to stay the majority. See, there is like no interracial conflict now. Like Russia is more unified than ever, and Colonel Douglas McGregor proved that as well. I don't know what this soy boy is trying to prove here. Like he just listed off, oh, by the way, there's Dagestan and there's Muslims. Okay, Dagestan does have a Muslim population. So what? Dearborn, Michigan. Okay, Muslim population. Like, what does that prove? Like, does that prove like Muslims control America or something? I don't know what this guy's doing. Like right here, he's just conflating things, and like, what's he trying to prove? Like, is he trying to prove that this is good or bad or what? I think he's trying to say it's ecumenical, but it's not ecumenical. It's Putin is just a president of a secular state. It's a secular state, and therefore Putin will play the secular president game. Like just like every U.S. president did here in America whenever they tried to unify all Americans whenever going to war or whenever trying to just prevent any racial violence, right? Bush did it. Obama did it in his own way. So yeah, so I don't really know what he's trying to prove here. Let's play the rest of this guy. This patriarchy thing is almost over, so let's click right here. 1457.
One who dies in this war fighting for Russia has washed away his own sins, regardless of whether or not he is an Eastern Orthodox or
Out of context.
or an atheist or a Muslim. So there's currently a theological pull toward unity between Eastern Orthodoxy and Islam. As far as I'm concerned, they're both false religions that need to be responded to, but
This. Oh, okay. There is no unity like between Islam and Christianity. I know what he's. I already think. I think I know what he's trying to say. I think he's trying to basically probably like make this claim that Russian Orthodoxy and Islam are probably going to try to unite and become one religion. Totally not what's going on there. Now, what's really going on is what I believe it's somewhere in the Middle East. There's the Abu Dhabi Center, like they have like the Islamic mosque, some Roman Catholic parish, and some Jewish synagogue, all like in this shared space where all three where the Abrahamic faiths unite together. So ecumenism, that's a Roman Catholic practice. That's what the Roman Catholics are pushing. That's what the Pope is pushing. That's what Vatican II supports. That's not Orthodoxy. Orthodoxy does not support compromise of their faith. The Orthodox Church survived 70 years of communism. 70 years of communism, and the theology never changed. Never. So basically, there is no push for Islam and Orthodoxy to unite. It's just within Russia's borders, the Russian president is playing the secular president game where he's not discriminating against the citizens. Okay? It's a typical presidential political move done in any other country. But when Putin does it, it's how come whenever Putin does it, something like Putin does the same things that Western leaders do, but when he does it, it has to be something weird and unusual. It has to be framed that way. Why? It makes no sense. Well, it makes sense. It's because Russia has been conditioned. Well, not Russia itself, but the people here in the States have been conditioned to view Russia as this strange animal that cannot be trusted. And Hollywood has been conditioning people like since forever. Like basically post-Soviet Union, Hollywood never stopped conditioning people to always mistrusting Russia and Russian people. Hollywood has always been doing this. And so this guy seems like he's been watching too many Hollywood films and listening to too many liberal Russians complaining about Putin, and that's how he's creating his own worldview. Oh, look at this. A Russian priest and Islamic imam sitting next to each other. Oh, they're unifying. No, they're both Russian citizens of the Russian Federation under a secular state. And they live in the same country. So here's the question. Do you prefer they just destroy each other? Or maybe it's better for people who are patriots of their country to live in peace.
The fact that they're making that particular connection should be a giant red flag to anyone on the ground that Russian Orthodoxy is indeed a false religion because it's joining with Islam.
The Orthodox religion is never joined with Islam on anything. Okay? It's basically people who live in the same country. Okay? Like in Egypt, for example, like because of some terrorists killing Christians, the local Muslim community in Egypt gathered together and they would surround Christian churches, basically Orthodox churches, by the way. Orthodox churches in Egypt were surrounded by Muslims to protect the churches from being attacked by other violent terrorists, and vice versa. Orthodox Christians in Egypt would surround the mosque to protect it from being vandalized by extremists. Basically, within Egypt's borders, you had people, neighbors, who just want to live in peace. And guess what? The Muslims were not compromising their Islamic faith. The Orthodox Christians of Egypt were not compromising their Orthodox Christian faith at all. They're simply acting like good neighbors. The same situation is being done in Russia right now, okay? You have a population of people who are equally hated by the West, living in one country. They have no time to just fight with each other. It's logical that citizens of the same country simply just want to say, hey, like, you're my neighbor, I'm your neighbor. Let's not fight each other at the moment. Let's be friends. But we will not compromise our faith. The Orthodox faith in Russia is not compromised. The Russian patriarch is definitely not calling for a unification with Islam. No, you're confusing the Russian patriarch with the Roman Catholic Pope,
which proclaims a different God in the most explicit ways possible.
Andrew, what questions do you have for Paul? What's on your mind?
In terms of the theology of Putin, is he someone who claims to believe in God, or is he just using the Russian Orthodox Church as like a figurehead? And does he say through Russian propaganda that the war going on in Ukraine and with the Western world is a war against critical race theory and things of that nature? Is like that what's attacking the Russian Orthodox and the holy books? Is it critical race theory? Is it wokeness? Is it those types of things? Like what exactly are they saying?
It is. And this is where it starts to get interesting on the Ukrainian front, right? So, of course, Putin is a former KGB agent. Presumably, he was at least an atheist at that point in his life, and I see no reason to think that he has become a monotheist since.
Oh, based on what? Putin was baptized as a baby in secret. Okay? Like, you'd be surprised how many members of the Communist Party were secretly Christians, secretly Orthodox, right? Or, like, you'd be surprised, like, how many communists, once religion was allowed. By the way, in 1986, the Communist Party got rid of their ban, like, for religious people, because you had to be an atheist to join the Communist Party. In 1986, the government got rid of that ban and allowed everyone, like Muslims, Christians, Jews, Buddhists, to join the Communist Party. Religious people were finally allowed to join the Communist Party. Communist officials immediately grabbed their babies and ran to the parishes to baptize their babies. Okay? So, Putin, when he was a child, now, Putin was obviously born before 1986. His mother, an Orthodox Christian, his mother was a Christian. Listen here, soy boy. His mother was a Christian. Do you not get that? Oh, you don't know this because you did not take the time to study any actual history. You are a soy boy cuck. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Like, maybe I should give this guy more grace. I should calm down, but like, when lies are being spread like this, I just cannot hold back, okay? These are literal lies. Putin's mother was a Christian. Putin was raised by a Christian mother. Now, Putin probably was, like, maybe not, like, wholly Christian as a child, maybe, because he grew up in the system, but he knew his background. He knew who his mother was. And Putin loves his mother. And Putin respects his mother. Now, I don't know if his mother is alive anymore, but he still respects the memory of his mother. Yeah, because I don't remember when she died, but Putin knows his background. And so And so maybe when Putin was younger, he did probably lie on the application saying, yeah, I'm a communist, just to get ahead. Does that not kind of come to your mind? Because many people who are not atheists would just lie in their communist application, say, oh yeah, I'm an atheist. Yeah, sure, I verify I'm an atheist. Yes, that's a sin. Okay, I get that. But at the same time, Putin lived in a system. Maybe he was not fully monotheistic, but he was definitely not fully atheistic. Putin knew where he was baptized. Putin knew where he was baptized. It's also in the church records. The current patriarch, his father was the one who baptized Putin when he was a baby. So, but like, this guy's just assuming, okay, well, he's KGB, so yeah, officially on paper you had to be an atheist. On paper. Well, what you truly believed, they didn't care. Like, as long as you don't openly preach it or promote it, they didn't care. But it was just formality. It was just a formality on paper. You just sign off that you're an atheist. And by 1986, that ban on religious people was gone. It was lifted. Religious folks were allowed to be communists in 1986. I remember like watching a video from like 1987. There was a Communist Party session, and a lady came up and basically quoted the Bible or some scriptures as if it was normal, and she quoted it and she also mentioned it as part of the Russian Christian heritage. But this soy boy right here does not know this. He does not speak Russian, or at least I don't know if he speaks Russian, but from what I understand, he doesn't, because he would have done more research if he spoke Russian. He would at least be well researched if he spoke Russian and like dug deeper. But no, he chooses not to do this research. This is all speculation. He is promoting speculation. This is all his opinions. These are his theories. These are not facts. But this soy boy is convincing thousands of gullible, impressionable people right now. Sickening. Falsely claiming that Putin is not Christian. No, Putin knows his faith. Putin knows where he comes from. And priests could verify, yes, this man is Christian. But Putin is a Christian man limited by a secular form of government. He's running a secular government. So, by the way, Putin is president of a secular government. You would think if he was authoritarian in any way, he would force his government to accept and adopt a state church. You would think if he truly was the dictator that you're trying to portray him as, he would force the state to accept a state church. But he's not doing that. He hasn't done that. And because of Putin, by the way, well, not just because of Putin, there are many other factors in play. But Putin played a role in helping the church to become revived. So there is a slow growth of orthodoxy in Russia again. And when I say orthodoxy, I'm not talking about nominal orthodoxy. I'm talking about true orthodoxy. Because people would say, okay, the true, actual believing Orthodox, some would say 1%, some would say like 3%. But right now, it looks like the number is going up to 6 or 7%. The number is going up. And there are more and more churches being built inside the Russian Federation under Putin's leadership. But at the same time, there is no true state church in Russia because the Russian government is a secular, semi-presidential federal republic. But this guy is going to lie to you and tell you, oh, Putin's an atheist because I said so, because of this speculation. This is all speculation. This is all speculation. I suggest you study Russian and learn the Russian language and dig deeper. Read more articles, read more books, do more research, watch more videos, watch more documentaries. Don't listen to the soy boy.
Especially since presumably he is influencing the Russian.
Oh, I got ahead of myself. Listen to the soy boy. No, listen to him. Just listen to his stupidity, but then do your own research later. And in the previous video, in part 1 of the live stream, I mentioned, don't 100% believe me either. Do your own research. I encourage that, okay? But the question is this guy encouraging you guys to do your own research? Because this guy's already playing the same old tune. Oh yeah, Putin bad, Putin dictator, blah, 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 blah. This guy's not presenting anything new. And by the way, like the questions that are being asked of him are already stupid questions. Sorry, they're stupid questions. These are questions that could have been asked 10 years ago. 10 years ago, these questions could have been asked. But people are too lazy to just go on the internet, print out articles, study different languages, do their own research. And people like this soy boy will claim that Putin is an atheist because they said so. Based on speculation.
Russian Orthodox Church to decide who gets to become the patriarch who's saying these things, right? So, influencing the Russian Orthodox Church to decide who gets to become and to think that he has become a monotheist since, especially since presumably he is influencing the Russian Orthodox Church to decide who gets to become the patriarch who's saying these things, right?
Oh, this guy is totally... Putin is not picking any patriarchs. Like the last patriarch who died and was replaced by Kirill. Kirill was not appointed by Putin. Putin has no power over the church. In the eyes of the church, he's a layman. When it comes to the church, Putin and I are both equals. Like, he's a layman and I'm a layman. Okay? When we're in, like, if Putin and I were both somehow inside the same temple together, within that temple we're the same. He's a layman, I'm a layman. He has no church jurisdiction, no church authority. I have no church authority to do anything. There are priests, there are bishops, there are people above us in our religion, in our faith. And Putin is just a layman. He does not decide any church councils. He does not decide any church canons, any church rulings. And Patriarch Kirill was not chosen because of Putin's influence. No. The patriarchs are decided by the church council. Just like every other every other Orthodox church jurisdiction does. There are councils. If a patriarch dies, who replaces him? The church will have a council, they'll decide. The Greeks do the same thing. The Serbians do the same thing. The OCA does the same thing. The American Orthodox Church, the Orthodox Church in America, they do the same thing. Okay, the OCA, the American Orthodox people, they have a metropolitan. They don't have a patriarch. But still, like, you don't just have the government influence you on who's going to be your patriarch. But this guy obviously doesn't know how the Orthodox Church is run, and honestly, I bet you this guy doesn't even know about the existence of the Serbian Orthodox Church. I guarantee you, this guy probably doesn't even know about the existence of the Finnish Orthodox Church, about the Polish Orthodox Church. This guy probably doesn't know about the OCA. He probably doesn't know that there is an American Orthodox Church. He probably does not know that. Most likely. Like, he probably thinks there's probably Russia Orthodox Church and maybe Greek Orthodox Church. That's probably where his knowledge stops. He probably doesn't know about the Antiochian Orthodox Church. He probably doesn't know about, the Russian Orthodox Church in Alaska. Well, I'll get to that. But yeah, let's continue listening to this soy boy cuck right here.
So, to call him Eastern Orthodox in the sense of the word that the true Eastern Orthodox outside of Russia, the Greek Orthodox or the American Orthodox, who actually knows the doctrines and has studied the doctrines and is dedicated to the doctrines, as much as I disagree with them. To say that Putin is the kind of Eastern Orthodox that those guys would agree with would be hard to imagine.
Okay, so this guy is aware of the OCA. Okay, cool. So this guy knows who the OCA are, right? But the Russian Orthodox Church has the same doctrines as the Greek Church does, right? and the same doctrines as the OCA. It's the Orthodox Church. We have the same exact doctrine. We have the same exact doctrine. How do you not understand this, you soy boy cuck? Like, guys, look at this. Like, in the first video, my internet cut out, and so I was already like 1 hour into ranting, like for like what, like a 6 minute, like I was on 6 minutes, I think, if I remember correctly. Guys, like, it's already been a couple hours now, and look, we're only at the 17 minutes and 23 second mark. This is where we are right now. And already this guy just spitting nonsense after nonsense. It's just getting ridiculous. And I have to stop and correct him. Like, every single time he speaks. This guy is so despicable. Just very despicable. A liar. And not just a liar, an ignoramus, an ignorant liar. This guy's poorly researched. The doctrines are the same. Okay? Like, what is it that he's conflating Putin with the Russian Orthodox Church too. And so he's saying that he does not agree with the doctrines of the OCA and the Greek Church, but at least they know their doctrines better than the Russian Church or something, or like, it's the same doctrine. Like, it's most likely, like, I'm telling you, like, either some Russian-speaking Ukrainian probably, like, is throwing some information at him. Probably some liberal Russian is misinforming him. Because, like, I don't know how he comes up with this stuff. Well, I think the easy answer would be, oh yeah, he's just a lazy researcher. So, yeah. But let's keep playing some more of this guy. Like, let's hear what else he has to say.
However, they are indeed framing this as a holy war. There was an interesting propaganda video that went out. There was a big rally in downtown Moscow, and one of the speakers started shouting out, "Svященная война, священная война. This is a holy war, holy war." And when he did, from the cameras in the back, you could see the crowd and everything, and you could hear them erupting in applause. Yay, holy war.
Wow.
And then a video was released of a guy in the audience that had his phone out, and whenever the same line came out, "Svященная война, священная война," it was silent. Nobody was hollering
That goes
Agreed.
back to the Francis.
So there's a question then. To what extent?
Oh, no, 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 no. Священная война, like it means the sacred war, right? And that terminology, it goes back to like World War II. During World War II, basically the Soviet soldiers will sing about the sacred war, Священная война. And basically it was a sacred war to defend the motherland against foreign invaders. The motherland was attacked in 1941, and to raise the spirits of the people, like basically the term sacred war was used. Священная война means sacred war. And so obviously it makes sense that like people in Russia could view this as a sacred war. And there's nothing wrong with this, because there are a lot of historical reasons why this is a sacred war, because it's undoing the wrongs of the Bolsheviks, the Satanism of the Bolsheviks. And this war is basically fixing the mistakes of the Bolsheviks, which this ignoramus doesn't know about.
Is it? Yeah, right. So it seems that was being manipulated. Well, one of them was. Was it the phone, or was it the mainstream there? So there's kind of a question as to whether or not the Russian populace is with Putin, and to what extent. So there's kind of a question then of the Russian populace, how many of them are sincere Russian Orthodox people who follow that religion, and how many are not.
Okay, here is the thing. Like, a lot of people who are supporting the war in Ukraine are not even Orthodox, okay? Like, you have lots of Orthodox who support the war. You have many atheists who support the war. You have some Protestants who also support the war, okay? These are just citizens. These are citizens, right? Like, basically, it doesn't matter whether it's Orthodox or atheists supporting the war, right? So, like, I don't know what he's trying to get at right here.
Then of those who are sincerely Russian Orthodox, how many of them are buying into this? And it's hard to tell. I've been trying to gauge that.
Okay, here's the thing. If you study Russian history, you would know that there was never Ukraine as a country, there's never Belarus as a country. Ukraine and Belarus was just Russia. Not just Russian Empire, they were Russia proper. They were Russia. You had Big Russia, which is what we look at modern day Russia today. You had White Russia, which is Belarus. And then you had Novorossiya, which is the part of Ukraine from from Kharkov to Odessa. And then you had Crimea. And then, of course, you also had Little Russia, which is Kiev and the Sumy regions and Zhytomyr regions. You had Little Russia. And then you had Galician Rus. That's Lviv and Rovno and Ivano-Frankovsk, because the Poles, they conquered those areas for a while, and then the Russians recaptured all those lands. But before 1917, when Russia had an empire, if you would cross from Lvov into Poland, you're crossing not from Ukraine into Poland, you're crossing from Russia into Poland. Despite Poland being part of the Russian Empire, people knew the difference between Poland and Russia. The Bolsheviks come over, the atheistical, satanic Bolsheviks come over, and they basically separate Russia. They carve it up into the Russian Federation, that's Big Russia, and then they create the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, and then they create the Belarusian Soviet Socialist Republic. They create the idea that Belarusians, they're a brotherly nation, but they're not Russians. They create the idea that Ukrainians are a brotherly nation, but they're not Russians. The idea that Ukrainians are a separate group of people, that was already being started by Polish aristocratic rebels back in the 19th century, right? But the communists are the ones who basically fulfilled this idea that Ukrainians are a separate nation. Yes, they're a internationalist, brotherly nation, of course. And they have a shared history, of course. But they're not the same nation. They're not the same nationality. They were oppressed by the Russians, and now the communists have taken over to kind of make everybody equal and to kind of, and so they decided to create the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, and basically the Orthodox Church was being attacked and harmed by the Bolsheviks of 1917, 1918, 1919, 1920, up until like the late 1930s. This damage was done. Then the Nazis, they tried to basically take advantage of this whole Ukrainian nationalism. Then, of course, post-World War II, Ukraine is treated like a child. Ukraine is given financial services. Ukraine is being basically coddled by the Soviet Union, being treated super nice. Well, Russia's kind of like, okay, yeah, you're like the lazy big brother, and you have this younger brother right here. We're taking care of him because he's the favorite. That's how Ukraine was being treated. And then the spoiled brats, along with Russia and Belarus, all three countries break away. Ukraine being the spoiled brats, basically, like starts to develop this hatred towards Russia, with the help of Western powers, of course, for 30 years. For 30 years, Western NGOs, have been spreading hatred against Russia and the Orthodox Church, the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, by the way. And what's interesting, so far, this guy has not mentioned the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. Okay, we're 18 minutes into this video, and so far he has not mentioned the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. Maybe he will later on. But for many Orthodox, this is a sacred war. This is a sacred war for many Orthodox because it's restoring the wrongs, the evils that were started by the Bolsheviks. And believe me, by the way, Putin is very tame compared to many Russian Orthodox nationalists who think Putin is too weak on Ukraine and isn't doing enough. So yeah, there are some Russian Orthodox who actually believe that this war should have happened a long time ago. But yeah, let's just but this guy doesn't get it. Like, he thinks that, like, basically this is just Putin controlling the church. He's trying to imply that Putin started this. He's saying that Putin did this. No. Russian patriots have wanted this a long time. Putin was always resisting this. Putin was always saying, let's try to make a deal of some sort. And at the last minute, Putin realized, okay, there is not going to be any deal. Let's do a special military operation, not full-scale war. And 1 year later, like more than a year later already, basically things are not working out, and well, things are working out for Russia on the front lines, but basically, the Ukraine is still not coming to the negotiation table because its puppet masters they're not allowing Ukraine to go to the negotiation tables with Russia. And Putin's been very tame. He's been trying to kind of always say, "Let's talk, guys." Yeah, like in the very beginning of the war, Putin was very open to negotiations, very open. And so were the Ukrainians, by the way. They were willing. But then the Western powers decided, no, Ukraine, don't make any peace deals, we'll support you. And look where we are right now. But this idea that Putin installed this idea into the minds of the Orthodox, no. Many, many Russian patriots, who, by the way, were on the fringes, they wanted this war. And rightfully so, because Ukraine is Russia, it's Russian land. And so Putin basically, he went to war for multiple reasons. One, pressure from the voters who supported the Donbas rebels in the southeast of Ukraine. And then plus, NATO expansion is basically what forced Putin to finally to make the Russian fringes happy. And now it's just mainstream So yes, Orthodox and atheists and Protestants, basically anyone in Russia who is a Russian patriot supports this war for multiple reasons. It's not like they were brainwashed by Putin. You don't think people don't read books in Russia? You don't think people don't have the internet in Russia? Are you that dense? Are you that stupid? I think this guy's stupid. I think this guy really is that stupid.
I'm seeing a lot of support, a lot of really hateful things coming out of the average Joe in Russia, but I don't want to try to pretend like I have a good feel for the populace when I have several examples. So that's kind of tough. So is Putin?
What hatred is he talking about? The average Russian, even the one who supported the war in Ukraine, never had any animosity towards the Ukrainian population. Never. But guess what? Many Ukrainians, the average Joe in Ukraine, would have animosity towards towards Russians even before the invasion, because of people like you spreading propaganda in Ukraine that Russia is their enemy. But Russians never had this animosity towards the civilian population of Ukraine. It was the only animosity the only hatred the average Russian Joe in Russia would have, the only hatred they have is towards Zelensky and the Ukrainian government and their puppet masters.
In Russian Orthodox, kind of hard to tell. How do you define it? So what exactly is the nature of this holy war then? Is it critical race theory and critical theory and wokeism in short? I think the answer to that question is a yes. They've said it in very clear terms. Putin has gotten up and said, look at what they're doing in the West. They're promoting the LGBTQ plus agenda. This is what they're trying to promote. The scary thing is a video that I've recently seen released in Ukraine in support of the war, and it had snippets of a gay pride parade, and then snippets of Nazi black and white footage from back in the 40s, and then gay parade and Nazis, gay parade Nazis.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at that, I'm like, I kind of like that they're drawing a comparison between the gay parade and the Nazis because they have the same basis. But then they put sort of a line there in Ukrainian saying something to the effect of, just as we are fighting against the Nazis, we're going to fight against the homophobes too, in support of the whole gay awareness month and everything. So Russia is framing this as a war against the Western ideology, and it looks like a lot of Ukrainians are buying into the Western ideology because of it. And
Hmm.
this is something that we on the missions front are going to have to be dealing with in a very serious way in years to come.
Yeah, help me understand real quick. Just because when I think of like critical race theory and
Part of the
Oh, okay, so where is Putin wrong about this? Like, you mean to tell me that that Western NGOs were not promoting LGBTQ propaganda in Ukraine and in the West? Look at us now. Look at us as a nation now, right? We're LGBTI plus whatever central. This is us right now. This is our culture. Now, this might not be your culture. It's not my culture. But in general, we are living in this culture now. So, where is Putin wrong about this? Also, regarding the Nazis, well, it's because there are actual Nazis in Ukraine. Duh. Nazi battalions in Ukraine were recently formed in 2014. When, by the way, this guy, he's not mentioning, I don't know if he will mention, but he's not mentioning the civil war in Ukraine. Like, he's not mentioning how in 2014 there was a civil war in Ukraine and many Nazis were formed, and a lot of these Nazi groups, like, they're very contradictory because half of them are homosexuals. Half of them, like, not like maybe half, I'm exaggerating, of course, but a certain number were homosexuals and they were accepted in these Nazi groups. On top of that, like the Tornado Battalion or a bunch of PDF aisles, a lot of them were a bunch of PDF aisles in the Tornado Battalion. And they were, by the way, and they were simultaneously a Nazi battalion that was formed in Ukraine. Like, you can't deny that. You cannot deny that. And guess what? What's interesting, the mainstream media admitted that there are neo-Nazis in Ukraine. And then when the attack happened, when Russia officially invaded Ukraine, guess what? That same mainstream media claimed there are no neo-Nazis in Ukraine. But they just, like a year before that, they were talking about the neo-Nazi problem. Like, you don't see this? Like, if the mainstream media says one thing and then changes their story the next year, wouldn't you find that suspicious? But again, you probably did not research this. You did not research this. And by the way, what's funny is that these neo-Nazis, not only are some of them homosexuals, but like a lot of them are sponsored by the JOOZ, or I'll just say the JEWS. The JEWS folks, they're supporting these neo-Nazi battalions in Ukraine, by the way, with lots of money. Kolomoisky is one of them. Kolomoisky, he's one of the JEWS who supports the Nazis in Ukraine. He's one of the founding members of Azov. Azov, the big Nazi battalion that's famous over there in Ukraine. And so, at the same time, the Ukrainian government is accepting LGBTQIA plus propaganda from the West as normal. They're doing this to prove that they are democratic, that they love democracy. They are not like the barbarian Russians who don't like the LGBT rainbow flag community. That's what the Ukrainian government is pushing. And at the same time, the people fighting for these LGBTQIA perverts are the Ukrainian Nazis. So that clip that he's talking about makes perfect sense. So, because the Russians and the Ukrainians, by the way, fought against Nazis in World War II. And then now you have this repeat where not only do you have Nazis coming back, you have them fighting for a bunch of rainbow flag perverts. So there you go. So I don't understand this clip that he's talking about. Like I don't understand how's it propaganda? It's true. It's just factual. It's just facts. It's happening right now. Go research this stuff. Go look this stuff up. All this is real. By the way, I prepared something right here. Okay. SMH, the Sydney Morning Herald. Okay. The first target, why Ukraine's Unicorn Battalion is taking the fight to Putin. The Unicorn Battalion is the homo-actual battalion that was formed to fight against the Russian invasion. Guess what? Russia does not have any unicorn battalions. By the way, our country is recruiting, all these fake women who think they're women, but they're just a bunch of men in skirts. A lot of them are being catered to in our U.S. military. So our military officially does not have a unicorn battalion, but eventually it will, right? And Ukraine beat us. Ukraine beat us to this. Ukraine already has their own unicorn battalion, full of homo-actuals and other rainbow flag people. So right here, one of Ukraine's leading gay rights activists says Russia's invasion has led to greater openness and acceptance of LGBTQ people, with many taking to the battlefield to fight in a so-called unicorn battalion. And it's a real battalion. They have their own patch. There it is. That's the patch right there. That is the patch. And Ukrainian soldier with the Ukrainian battalion patch on their uniform. Okay. This shows to Ukraine and to the world, to the society, that LGBTQI people are actually very active citizens supporting Ukraine and fighting for freedom. LGBTQ soldiers adopted a unicorn patch, a mythical creature, partly to counter the myth that there were no gays in the army, leading to them being dubbed the Unicorn Battalion. Right. Emson said gay Ukrainians had a specific interest in ensuring Putin, who has repeatedly said marriage equality is a deficiency of the West, did not occupy their homeland. Russia is a very homophobic country, and in Russia, homophobia is official state policy. So if Russia occupies Ukrainian territory, LGBTQI people are the first targets. So what I'm trying to figure out is, oops, what's going on? Okay, guys. Okay, wrong video. Okay. So what's this guy trying to imply here? Is this guy trying to say that Russia is bad for not accepting the LGBTQI politics, or what? But I thought this was a Christian channel. I thought Cultish were a bunch of Christians, right? So what's going on here? Are they okay with the homo-actual battalions? Are they okay? Are they okay with this? Are they okay with the rainbow people? What's going on here?
Month and everything. So Russia is framing this as a war against the Western ideology, and it looks like a lot of
because it is a Western ideology, modern Western ideology. But right now, currently, it is the mainstream. Unfortunately, it's no longer the West is no longer the West. It's no longer the West of old. It's no longer a traditional West. The West right now is very degenerate. There is no more true Western culture. It died out. I mean, it did not. I guess the flame did not die out. There are people in the West who are traditionalists, who are conservative, real conservative, not some weird conservative, libertarian, constitutionalist weirdos. No, actual conservatives. They exist in the West, and some of them exist in governments, like in the West as well. But these people don't have the influence that they need. They don't have they don't have the power that they need to make a difference. I think with enough propaganda they might, but currently the West right now, as the current governments are in place in France, Germany, Canada, here, like basically the Western culture is degeneracy and perversion. Sorry. Like that's what it's become. Do you not see that? Are you in denial of that? Are you in denial of this? It seems like this soy boy cuck might be in denial of all this. He's pretending. Is he pretending this does not exist?
Ukrainians are buying into the Western ideology because of it. And this is something that we on the missions front are going to have to be dealing with in a very serious way in years to come.
Yeah, help me understand real quick, just because when I think of like critical race theory and the influence of Marxism in our country, I see that as almost like to Russia a good thing that's happening to the West, because it will eventually destroy like a free market society. It'll destroy the very foundation which our government exists on. Why would they be fighting against that instead of encouraging the destruction of the West through just letting them have it? Like, why, if this is the way communism is going to take the West, why is another form of communism fighting against it? Like, because I don't see Russia not fighting with China, and they have two different forms of communism, you know?
So
what is this Artard talking about? What? Like, is this guy implying that Russia is still a communist state? Oh, let me. Like, I need to re-listen to this. This is. I don't know. Okay. 21 minutes, 31 seconds. Okay, and already everything they say is just bizarre, just ridiculous.
Years to come.
Yeah, help me understand real quick, just because when I think of like critical race theory and the influence of Marxism in our country, I see that as almost like to Russia a good thing that's happening to the West, because it will eventually destroy like a free market society. It'll destroy the very foundation which our government exists on. Why would they be fighting against that instead of encouraging the destruction of the West through just letting them have it? Like, why, if this is the way communism is going to take the West, why is another form of communism fighting against?
So, okay, wow. This guy literally... So this guy doesn't understand that the free market also caters to the degenerate wokeism. Like, has this guy not been paying attention to what's been going on with Disney and Netflix and Amazon and Hollywood? Is this guy like literally living somewhere in the woods? Like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, living in the woods, having your own property, that is awesome. I encourage that, right? But at the same time, like, okay, you are on the internet. You are a podcaster, blogger. You're active on the internet. You're acting as if like it's just some kind of communist thing, right? First of all, Chinese communism does not even support this wokeism stuff. And a lot of this cultural Marxism, a lot of it is not even actual communism. Like actual communists during the Cold War were against all of these perversions, by the way. I'm not communist. I'm a monarchist. I oppose communism. But at least I hate I have to use this line. I have to use this line that I constantly I constantly repeat this line to a lot of people. I hate communism based on facts. You're hating communism based on some kind of fairy tales, and you're making yourself look like an ignorant person. Like, wow, wow. Oh, the levels of cringe. Oh, and these guys have a huge following on YouTube, and they're deceiving so many people. And this guy's not, I don't think he's being intentional. Like, this guy, I don't think he's intentionally deceiving anybody. I just think he's just a fool who's just misleading people. So I used the wrong term. I said deceiving, but I meant to say this guy's just misleading people. But the other guy, like the other soy boy cuck, that guy's like deceiving people. He's a deceptive person. This guy right here just seems to be just some ignorant dude. Your typical cookie cutter, I don't know, like American or something. Wow, the questions he's asking are just, because stupid questions exist, by the way. Stupid questions exist, and these are stupid questions. Wow. And that's why my answers are just really harsh. Wow. I need to. Wow, like I just can't understand the level of stupidity here. Like I'm thinking this guy's assuming that Russia's a communist state, and then like is he thinking that Russia's fighting communism with communism or what? Like, or is this guy thinking that Russia is the one like sponsoring the woke movement? Is that what he's thinking? Really? In reality, it's the opposite. It's our government doing all this. In reality, our government attempted to sponsor all the gay stuff in Russia. All those NGOs, they were knocked out. They were shut down by the Russian government. No more gay propaganda. None of that. All that's illegal, by the way. All gay propaganda in Russia is illegal. And not just gay propaganda. The rainbow flag stuff, any of that tranny weird stuff, it's gone. It's illegal. But here in America, guess what? It's the free market. He's talking about the free market, all this stuff. It's the free market here in America that's been pushing all this wokeism. Wow. I will admit that the original communists in Russia in the 1920s attempted to do some kind of form of wokeism. Guess who stopped all that wokeism in the Soviet Union in the 1930s? Oh, I hate to say this, but his name is Joseph Stalin. And here's the thing, I hate Stalin. But when it comes to historical facts, I have to just point this out. I have to point this out objectively. So I hate communism based on facts. You're afraid of communism based on some kind of fairy tales. Like Western communism has nothing to do with the old school Cold War era communism. It has nothing to do with Chinese communism. Wow. But wokeism has no problem with capitalism in reality. Yes, a lot of Antifa folks are woke, whatever, fine. But at the same time, the corporations, you think they're all just a bunch of socialists and communists up there? No, they're your capitalists. They're your free market people who decided, hey, let's kind of create a new market right here. Let's pander to our own perversions. Okay, that's what's going on here. Okay, it's the free market is what gave us what we have today. All of this disgusting stuff. Okay, so I equally hate communism and capitalism. Both are bad. Both are two sides of the same coin. I bet you this guy doesn't even know that the communist revolution in Russia was sponsored by capitalists. This guy would be shocked to find out. Wow.
Against it. Because I don't
That's
see
a good
Russia
question.
not fighting with China, and they have two different forms of communism, you know?
So when he says two different forms of communism, so is he implying that China has two different forms of communism? Or is he saying that Russia has communism still and China has communism? If he still thinks Russia's a communist state, this guy like this guy, like he's delusional. He's just delusional. So he may not be deceptive, but he's just delusional. Russia is not a communist state. Russia is a multi-party state, by the way, with multiple parties. You have the United Russia Party, which is in first place, the Communist Party in second place. By the way, like about like 6 years ago, they were in third place. They were not in second place. And then in third place, you have the Liberal Democratic Party, which has nothing to do with liberalism, nothing to do with democracy. The Liberal Democratic Party has been known to be a right-wing party that's totally semi-nationalistic. They're not too extremely nationalistic, but they're close enough right there. They're always defending the ethnic Russians. They're always fighting for the ethnic Russians. They're in third place right now in the government. And then you have the Justice Party, you got the Apple Party, and whatever other parties. But like, by the way, the Justice Party, like they're kind of like wishy-washy, and then you have the Apple Party. They're basically like you could say the American version of Democrats. Those guys exist. They get elected. So yeah, but to say that Russia is this communist state, is this what he's implying, or is he saying that China has two different forms of communism? Which I'm trying to figure out what he means by that, because China has a communist government, but a partial capitalistic economy. It's like a mixed economy, basically.
So the back up a little bit. A mistake that you'll often hear said is that this is a conflict between the Russian military or the Russian government and the Ukrainian military or the Ukrainian government. It's not quite like that. This is several people in the Russian government have actually come out and said things like "no mercy to the Ukrainian people." So it's actually an attack against the Ukrainian people.
Okay, this guy's a liar. This guy is a deceiver. Like Putin himself has never even said that. Like, and no one in the Russian military has ever said that. This guy is pulling stuff out of his you know what. This guy is a deceiver. This soy boy cuck. Like, so from what I understand already, so we're 22 minutes in. So from what I understand, he's been probably on mission trips to Ukraine and probably Russia. This is what I'm assuming. I'm assuming this is what it is. I'm assuming that he's probably been more to Ukraine, and probably in Ukraine he's heard the stuff. He's probably heard someone in Ukraine saying, "Oh, destroy the Russian people." But I guarantee you will not find any clips like that. This is a war between, by the way, the Russian people and the Ukrainian government. There you go. That's what it really is. It's Russia against the Ukrainian government. Russians never have any animosity towards Ukrainian people. Never. There are a few exceptions here and there. Of course. Always going to be exceptions to the rule. Why? So far, this guy has not mentioned the Donbass. This guy, by the way, the Ukrainian government, by the way, so let's just back up. Let's back up to 2014. Ukraine has a civil war in the southeast. You have the Donbass region rebelling against Ukraine. For 8 years in a row, there's a civil war in Ukraine before Russia invades. 8 years in a row, there's a civil war in Ukraine before Russia invades. Let that sink into your brain. Ukrainian politicians, Ukrainian bloggers, Ukrainian military personnel, everybody, all these people have been saying that they want to genocide the people of the Donbass. What's interesting is that Russia, France, and Germany offered peace talks for Ukraine and for the people of the Donbass so that they may kind of find a settlement and agreements, maybe even reintegrate Donbass peacefully based on whatever settlement they'll offer. The Ukrainian military, Ukrainian bloggers, Ukrainian politicians, they said No. Like, you have a civil war in your country and you don't want to make peace to reunite with the people you're fighting with. You want to destroy them. That's the Ukrainian side. They're known. They have been known to say this. Ukrainian bloggers. By the way, I know this because I watched the Ukrainian bloggers say this. I've watched the Ukrainian president Poroshenko, before Zelensky became president, by the way, President Poroshenko, he said this. He made statements that our children will be going to school while their children will be hiding in basements. Like is the Ukrainian side. The Ukrainian side has been always supporting genocide of the other people, of the Russian people in the Donbass. 8 years in a row in a civil war, Ukraine has refused any true peace negotiations. They pretended to want to have peace, but in reality, their actions spoke louder than their words, and their actions proved their words. They wanted to genocide all of the people in Donbass. Their actions spoke louder than, I guess, their paperwork. Because on paper, oh yeah, we want to have some kind of peace deal, but in reality, they didn't. Because Angela Merkel, the Prime Minister of Germany, she even told Ukraine, "Hey guys, this whole Minsk Accord is just a show. That's it. That's all it is. So keep fighting those people in the Donbass." 8 years in a row, genocide, 16,000 people murdered by the Ukrainian government. Schools, hospitals, literally, it's all recorded, it's all documented, but ignored by people like him. This evil soy boy, he's not just I'm straight up calling this guy evil, because you're basically evil if you ignored all this 8 years in a row and you purposefully ignore this on purpose. You don't mention this to your audience, and you make up a lie saying that Russian officials said they want to destroy the Ukrainian people. Never has anyone uttered those words. Putin has always appealed to the Ukrainian population. He made statements to the Ukrainian population saying that we are one nation, brotherly nation. The Ukrainian side has not done that. So, get out of here with your BS. Well, I'm still going to be here listening to this guy's BS. I don't know how long how much I could handle, but I've already been doing this live stream for a while. But yeah, let's keep going.
The nation, right? It's an actual genocide. It's a good thing. West supporting Ukraine. They're framing Ukraine as Nazis, which is absurd. I mean,
I explained to you guys earlier that Ukraine has Nazi battalions, but it's absurd to me. Stop being a lazy moron. Stop being a lazy soy boy cuck and go on the internet. Look up Jackson Hinkle. Look up Jimmy Dore. I don't agree with Jimmy Dore on a lot of political issues. I don't agree with Jackson Hinkle's some of his political views, but they're well researched. If you don't believe me, look them up. Okay, they have better technology than I do. They basically have more access to a lot more resources because of their technology. Look them up. Look up Jackson Hinkle. Look up Jimmy Dore. So don't you dare say it's absurd. By the way, I've been researching this. I've been on this. I was over there for a year. I witnessed what the evils done by the Ukrainian government. I saw all that. So don't you dare say it's absurd. You pathetic soy boy cuck. Okay, it looks like media manipulation. Okay, religious fervor. Let's go over here, see what that's all about. It's probably going to be the same thing. I'm probably going to be repetitive. I'm probably going to be beating a dead horse. But let's hear this out.
A lot of evidence. I mean, I interviewed several people, and I heard it over and over again. Kirill is KGB, and this is like open information. So, you hear.
Oh wow, a lot of people claim that Patriarch Kirill is KGB. This debunked story. There's this fake online story out there that Kirill used to be KGB. Not true at all. All documents and records show that in the Soviet era, Kirill was a son of a priest. He went to seminary, became a priest himself. That's his life story. He became a priest, became bishop. Now he's the Patriarch of Russia. That's his life story. Like, there's documented evidence of this, but a bunch of people spreading information online. Oh yeah, Kirill, because there's this one fake document that's been it's a forgery that's being spread online, and people just don't take the time to research this. And so, yeah, I'm not going to talk about this one too long, but this guy is saying, "Oh, lots of people told me Kirill's KGB, therefore it's true." Come on, Cultish, really, yeah, I used to once in a while like to watch some of their videos, but yeah, here they're just spreading straight up BS. It's all BS, like it's nonsense. It's just getting ridiculous. Like yeah, so the whole Kirill story, it's fraudulent. Like, oh, KGB because some people spread it online, therefore it's true. Like,
I've taught it to them, and just in my
so this part right here, it says Ukraine versus Russia. Let's check that out.
general experience in 12 years, Ukrainians are good people. Like, by and large, there's good.
Yes, I'm not denying that. Like, a lot of Ukrainians are good people because my heritage is from Ukraine. I know this. Okay, I know this. My heritage is from Ukraine.
Good people here, and they don't deserve what is happening.
Hmm.
Now, regarding what they deserve or don't deserve, let me tell you something. 8 years of genocide. The people of the Donbass were being genocided for 8 years. 8 years of genocide, living in fear. Men, women, and children. Families destroyed. Infrastructure destroyed. Schools destroyed. Economic collapse. But for 8 years in a row. The only reason why the Donbass survives right now is because Russia finally, 8 years later, decided to invade Ukraine. 8 years later. But for 8 years in a row, the Donbass people were left where they were abandoned. But they were resisting Ukraine. And for 8 years in a row, while the Ukrainian citizens were going to their cafes, going to their movie theaters, banging their girlfriends, having fun, going to the beach, the people of the Donbass were surviving. Yes, they tried to go to movies, they tried to go to the cafes, at the same time knowing that they might not survive a bombing. But life had to go on, so they would try to have some kind of luxury, some kind of something to enjoy themselves. But at the same time, they knew that they could die at any moment because a bomb might hit them in their direction. While Ukrainian citizens not living in that region were enjoying their lifestyle, not even worried about the fate of the people in the Donbass. Instead, they fit in to the anger and the hatred of their former fellow citizens. They began to hate them For what? For what? For what? The people of the Donbass are the ones suffering. They did not show compassion to the people of Donbass. So don't you ever dare say to me or to anyone in your audience that the people of Ukraine don't deserve this. Guess what? It was coming because they did not show sympathy for 8 years in a row. 8 years in a row. For 8 years in a row. Oh, by the way, let's go further. 8 years in a row, the Ukrainian government was shutting down the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. They're persecuting Ukrainian priests. They're persecuting Ukrainian parishioners. They're shutting down churches, seizing them for 8 years in a row. They only ramped it up even more in the winter of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. They ramped it up even more. It became more noticeable. But for 8 years in a row, they've been attacking churches. By the way, the Nazi battalions that exist there, they were too scared to fight in the Donbass. So they would go and find some easy targets, the churches. Oh, and by the way, like earlier, the one guy mentioned, it's ridiculous. There's videos of the Azov battalion, like the neo-Nazi battalion, literally being involved in blood rituals as an initiation. Alex Jones himself even admitted to this. Now, you don't have to watch Alex Jones to believe me. There's actual footage of this. Like, I saw this before Alex Jones even said this. Like, Azov battalion they're praising pagan gods. And then this guy and the other guy will claim it's ridiculous that to claim that there are Nazis in Ukraine. By the way, Nazis sponsored by the JEWS. So despite the fact that my heritage is from that area, my heritage is from there. But at the same time, like, I know what they deserve. And so for 8 years of ignoring and not caring about the suffering of innocent people who they learned to hate, well, guess what? The tables have turned. It's their turn to suffer. Like, it's like, I'm not happy to say this. Like, I'm not being joyful. I'm not joyful about this. But I'm just saying that this is a fact. This is true. This is reality. Sorry if it offends you. Sorry if this hurts your feelings. But, and by the way, it also hurts my feelings when I say this. Like, I'm not happy when I say this. I'm not joyful. I'm just stating it as a fact. It was going to happen. God will not be mocked. God will not be mocked. Especially when you shut down his temples, attack his priests for 8 years in a row. You're persecuting his church. On the down low, it became official only recently, but on the down low for 8 years, you've been persecuting his church, murdering innocent babies, destroying entire families, bringing pain and suffering to an entire region simply because they wanted to be left alone? Sorry, but don't you dare say the Ukrainian people don't deserve this. Sorry, I hate to say this. I hate to say this myself. It hurts me when I say this, but it was going to happen eventually. God's wrath was eventually going to come there. Sorry. Okay, let's look. This one's called The Ideology of Russia, Mormonism in Utah. Okay, are they going to compare the Orthodox Church to Mormonism? Okay, let's do the ideology first.
American founding fathers had. It emphasizes liberty and individuality. The second idea, or the second political theory to come along, was communism, as articulated by Marx. The third was fascism. So Nazis and the Italian fascists get kind of clumped together, but a lot of that comes from the Frankfurt School and that whole worldview. Marxism emphasizes society, whereas fascism emphasizes the state. So the Russian fourth political theory tries to take elements from each of those and try to combine it into a hybrid.
Okay, so this guy is basically implying, because he mentioned fourth political theory, and so he's implying that the Russian government is following Duginism. Okay, this guy is like, I don't know if I should label him evil anymore, or should I just label him stupid or dumb? I don't know. Like, or maybe he's a combination of everything. Like, okay, wow. Like, so is this guy literally saying that Russia's promoting Duginism? Okay, I'll have to rewind this right here. Maybe that's where it starts. Okay.
I forgot where I left off. I had to step
Yeah.
out of the library.
Yeah.
Let's see. I've mentioned a couple of times the ideology of Russia. That's probably something that's worth bringing out a little bit to both equip Americans whenever they're hearing Russian propaganda or any pro-Russian talk, and trying to figure out what's going on, as well as for Ukrainians or other Westerners that are being influenced by the ideology. So the political worldview goes by a couple of names. One is neo-Eurasianism, one is multipolarity, one is fourth political theory.
Okay, this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, Eurasianism is fourth political theory. Okay, you dumb soy boy, you cuckold. Okay, dude, listen here. The Eurasianism was created by Dugin. Okay, also known as Duginism. Alexander Dugin believes in Eurasianism. He believes that Russia should be like its own Eurasian empire and so forth. It's all this big nonsensical form of government that he believes in, and he wrote a book called Fourth Political Theory explaining this. Okay, and so I'm trying to figure out what else I need to rewind a little bit.
Liberalism. Is fourth political theory. The idea is that propaganda or any pro-Russian for Ukrainians or other Westerners that are being influenced by the ideology. So the political worldview goes by a couple of names. One is neo-Eurasianism, one is multipolarity.
Okay, it's not multiplurality, it's multipolarity. And first of all, it has okay, like seriously, multipolarity is not limited to Russia. It's basically this global idea that there should be not just one country being dominating over others. Right now we live in a single polar world, and that's where the U.S. and NATO is dominating everything. The U.S. controls NATO. We control NATO, right? And so Putin and many other countries are saying, okay, why should one country be dominating the whole world by itself, right? So therefore, we need a multipolar world where basically there's balance everywhere, right? Where there's spheres of influence where we control and say, okay, this is our sphere of influence, this is yours, okay? And so kind of let's try to figure this out. Let's live in peace. And that's multipolarity, okay? Eurasianism kind of would support multipolarity, but that's not the main focus of Eurasianism / Duginism, right? Multipolarity is something that's supported by many people around the world. It's not necessarily limited to supporting Eurasianism, okay? I'm a monarchist. I am a monarchist, okay? I support. I'm okay with multipolarity, okay? Like I'm not Eurasianist. I don't support Eurasianism. I don't support communism. I don't support capitalism. I'm a monarchist, but I'm okay with multipolarity. There you go. Like Eurasianism is not something that just supports multipolarity. multipolarity is supported by multiple groups of people. There are some communists who support multipolarity, okay? There are some capitalists, by the way, there are some capitalists that support multipolarity. But this soy boy cuck doesn't know basic history. He doesn't know basic geopolitics.
One is fourth political theory. The idea is that this is a political theory that has come after three previous political theories. The first political theory is liberalism, which is like classic liberalism. It's the ideas that the American founding fathers had. It emphasizes liberty and individuality. The second idea.
And what's interesting is that like he at least admits that that's liberalism, and he doesn't see the irony. It's like, yeah, you're not really a conservative. Like we are not, like America doesn't really have true conservatives. It's just different shades of liberalism. That's what we have, unfortunately. That's our society, by the way. Like we're a bunch of liberals. We're not conservatives. Well, I'm not a liberal for sure, but our society is a liberal society, and that's bad. That's why we have all of this destruction going on. That's why we have all this lawlessness. That's why we have all this chaos going on right now. That's why we have all these evil doctors, like basically trying to mutilate innocent children. That's why we have all this. It's because of liberalism. It's not the only cause, but it's a major cause.
Yeah, or the second political theory to come along was communism, as articulated by Marx. The third was fascism, so Nazis and the Italian fascists get kind of clumped together, but a lot of that comes from the Frankfurt School and that whole worldview. Marxism emphasizes society, whereas fascism emphasizes the state. So the Russian fourth political theory tries to take elements.
It's not a Russian fourth political theory. It's a theory created by a political theorist. Okay, so the Russian government does not go off this. But I know exactly where he's getting his information from. He's getting this information from left-wing liberal sources. The mainstream media has been promoting this idea. Unfortunately, some conservatives have been falsely promoting this idea that Alexander Dugin, the creator of fourth political theory, Eurasianism, unfortunately, people have been crediting Alexander Dugin as being Putin's advisor, despite the fact that Dugin never, ever had any political power ever in his life. And he had no influence over nobody. Like, whenever his movements would start, they would crumble and people would just break off. Like, his personal assistant just, like, said, was already getting tired of him. He was already tired of following him. Like, his personal assistant, like, basically did not want to be hanging out with him anymore. He decides to go to the front lines instead. Like, majority of Russians don't follow Alexander Dugin. They don't. The Russian government definitely is not following Duginism. And Alexander Dugin even knows that the Russian government is not following Duginism or the fourth political theory. This is mainstream nonsense propaganda that this guy is spewing. This guy is spewing propaganda from his enemies, the people who want to destroy Christian values in this country. He's using their sources. He's using their information to talk about Putin and Russia and the Orthodox Church. Think about this. His enemies, or his ideological enemies, are supplying him with information. Or maybe not necessarily his enemies. Okay, maybe I'm wrong where he's getting the information from. Maybe it's the Ukrainians that he loves so much. Maybe they're the ones who are giving him this information, which is not a surprise. I watch Ukrainian bloggers because, by the way, I speak Ukrainian. I know Ukrainian. Like, and I watch I watch the Ukrainian bloggers. I watch their shows. They also have these weird stories that they make up, and they say, "Oh yeah, Dugin, he has all this power and influence." He doesn't. Never had. He had influence over people, but not over governments. So I'm going to skip over all that BS because, like, actually, I'll go back a little bit. Maybe there's some other interesting BS that he'll spout.
Political worldview, which tends to support America's conservative values. Idea which the Russians are calling fascist, and rightly so because of its emphasis on the state. And it happens that the same Russians that are criticizing it are pulling off of fascism in order to make their expansive multipolar political worldview work. So it turns out that the left and the Russians are two sides of the same coin. So if you're siding with one, you're really aligning ideologically with the other, even though you have minor disputes. If you hold to a biblical worldview, which tends to support America's...
Okay, this is total BS. Because wow, the stupidity of this soy boy cuck. Look at this expression. Wow, the stupidity levels. I'm a monarchist, right? I'm totally not a leftist at all, right? I'm a monarchist. And actually, what's interesting, in Russia, a lot of the people in Russia who support the war in Ukraine are very right-wing. They're actually more right-wing than this soy boy cuck. Like, this soy boy cuck might think he's right-wing. He's not. He's not right-wing. He's by the way, a leftist. He is a liberal. He doesn't realize this, but he is a liberal. Oh, wow. And this guy, like I mentioned earlier, that communism and capitalism, they're two sides of the same coin. This guy does not see it this way. This guy doesn't understand this. He's your typical milquetoast cookie cutter, like brainwashed conservative. Oh, the Bible and America, we're one the same here. The Bible was written before America was even formed, right? Wow. Like, what is it about the Bible? Like, because I used to be Protestant. I used to be the super duper, like, we're founded on the Bible. I used to believe all this stuff, right? I used to believe all this BS, this nonsense. Like, wait till he finds out about the Hellfire Club and Benjamin Franklin. Wait till he. Oh, wait. So, by the way, wait till he finds out about John Adams. John Adams literally denied the fact that Mary was a virgin. That's blasphemy. That is blasphemous behavior. And that's the second U.S. president. That is a founding father who's founding America based on the Bible. The Bible which he did not really believe. Thomas Jefferson, he believed in Jesus the man. He did not believe in Jesus the God. Thomas Jefferson denied that. And Thomas Jefferson wrote his own Bible. He wrote his own version of the Bible. Yes, the Founding Fathers founded America based on the Bible. The Bible that they don't believe in. So the biblical worldview is closer to America. How and what? Because you cherry pick some verses? Wow. The Bible is monarchist. So shut up with your Republican BS. Your Republican propaganda. And your Democrat propaganda. Your liberal propaganda. You're liberal. You're spreading liberalism. You're leftist. You're the leftist. Russia right now in its current form is a centrist government. It's a centrist government. It's a secular state with a centrist government. That's all it is. It's not fully right wing. It's not fully left wing. It's neither. It's just a centrist government trying to kind of appease everybody there. But it's definitely not fourth political theory, which you don't know what it is. You're just making stuff up.
Conservative values with plenty of criticisms. We've got all sorts of stuff we can criticize.
Oh, what conservative values? What conservative values? Seriously, tell me, what conservative values? Also, when you, what do you mean by conservative values? Have you not heard of the 19th Amendment? Is that a conservative value? Like what are you talking about here? What conservative values? Look at our society right now. Look at our society. It degenerated really quick in 200 years. 200 years. It took Russia 1,000 years. 1,000 years to eventually become spiritually weak and be dominated by the communists. And guess what? Communism only lasted 70 years. And by the way, even then, the communism of the 1920s and the 1930s was different than the communism of the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, and 80s, and 1990 and 1991. The communism of the Soviet Union lasted 70 years. And guess what? Russia did not immediately become super duper Christian. It didn't. But it's slowly returning to its roots. A slow return. And right now, like, Russia is trying to figure out what is its current place on the current stage. There are people in Russia who already have the answer, what Russia should do. But on the political sphere, you still have people trying to kind of play the secular government game, unfortunately. That's what's going on in Russia. That's the problem with Russia, is that you still have this secular game being played by the Russian politicians. But to say that, like, Russia does not have conservative values? Are you serious? Are you serious right now? Like, literally, like, are you claiming that only America has conservative values? Are you a moron? Well, I mean, I already know you are, but, like, seriously, like, are you that moronic? Like, compare Russia right now, compare America right now. Russia's more conservative, you could say, when it comes to all these issues such as degeneracy, like LGBT pride and all that crap. So don't give me this BS about, we're conservative. No, we're not. We're not conservative. Get out of here.
Criticize about
Oh, yeah.
America. Nobody's pretending otherwise. If that's your idea, if you're a right winger, if you're an American first that is truly consistent, then you're the one who stands apart from both the left and Russia.
Actually, a lot of America First people support Russia, by the way. You total ignoramus, dude. You are totally just ignorant, dude. Like, a lot of right wing in America support Russia, by the way. A lot of right wing in America support Russia. And the far left. There are lefties who support Russia, like, not support Russia, but, like, at least agree with Russia geopolitically. And on the right wing, the far right in America, like, basically agrees with Russia geopolitically speaking. So don't give me this BS that you are right wing. Shut up. Shut your filthy trap, dude. You are not right wing. You are a soy boy liberal cuck who's confused about geopolitics.
So it's important to see those two as being more similar and our biblical political worldview as being the different one.
Yeah.
You know what? If I ever see you, dude, I'll totally wear like a "Hey, I'm proud of my Russian heritage" shirt, something like that, just to see you melt. Wow. Yeah. Okay, my Orthodox brothers. Yeah, I need to be more calm. I need to be more gracious. But, like, again, lies. I cannot stand lies. And, like, this guy's attacking the church. He's not attacking just the Russian Orthodox Church. He's basically, with his misunderstanding, is attacking the whole world of Orthodoxy. and he doesn't realize this. So, but we should know this. Like this guy is not our friend at all. Doesn't matter what Orthodox jurisdiction you are. We are one church. This guy doesn't understand this. This guy thinks that we're like all these different churches. We are one church. So yeah, he thinks that like, oh, the OCA and the Greeks know their own doctrines better than the Russian Orthodox Church. Get out of here. Get out of here with this BS. By the way, the OCA in America was founded by Russian Orthodox, by the way. So, yeah.
Andrew, it's interesting, Andrew. I want to get your thoughts on this, Andrew. You think about all the prep that you did.
Lives of individuals.
Okay, let's see how they tie Mormonism into this, but I don't know how they're going to do that, but whatever.
Also, in terms of just a cultural LDS individual or a cultural Mormon, sounds very similar to people that most likely even exist in Russia, that there's this Russian Orthodox head or part of the state, and a lot of people just say, yeah, that's just kind of culturally what it's like. I'd say it's very similar here, but I find that one of the most interesting premises is that any false religion or any false belief eventually will get molded into some type of form of government. There won't be a biblical.
Whoa, is this guy is totally ignorant. I'm grabbing my head right now. I can't believe, like, basically, like, is he trying to say the Russian Orthodox Church is some kind of new religion that popped out of nowhere? Dude, Russia has a 1,000-year governmental history. That's starting with the pagan era in 862 AD, right? And then in 988 AD, Russia accepts Orthodoxy, makes it the state church. Okay? Wow, well, I guess I should say Christianity, and then like you have the schism in 1054 AD. But basically, like the Russian Orthodox Church has existed like basically since the Middle Ages. And you are acting as if Russia is some kind of you're acting as if the Russian Orthodox Church is some kind of new religion. Like, what? Are you kidding me, dude? Dude, seriously, like, like, I wish you would repent, bro. Study history and repent, my friends. I'm not like I'm angry, but I'm not full of hate. Like, guys, okay, I don't want anyone to think that like I'm full of hatred for these people. Like, I'm just full of anger at what they're saying, right? So, like, that's why I wish they would just repent of their ways. So I don't have any hatred towards this person for his ignorance. It's just that his ignorance is just baffling me right now. And I just don't understand, how can you be a blogger of this caliber and be so ignorant of basic history? Basic history. Oh, just, wow. Like, comparing the Russian Orthodox Church to Mormonism. By the way, Mormonism is a hardcore American religion. Mormonism is the most patriotic denomination in America, by the way. So, yeah. Like, so is he trying to like is he trying to kind of deny the fact that Mormons are the most patriotic, but they're following their own cult leaders? I don't know. I'm confusing myself right now. But wow, like comparing the Russian Orthodox Church to Mormonism, prior to the Russian Revolution, prior to the Communist Revolution, the church and state, okay, and the church and state existed in harmony. Wow. And this lasted for 1,000 years. And I'm talking about the governments. Before Russia had a unified government, like there were a bunch of pagan tribes. There were pagan tribes who had their own city-states. They they finally unified in 862 AD as one nation. And then, well, they were a nation before. They were a nation of multiple city-states. but then they united as one government, as a government in 862 AD. And so Russia's governmental and religious Christian history, Russia's government and Christian history goes back 1,000 years, way before America was founded, way before. So don't act like Russia's some new religion like Mormonism. Wow.
Separation of church and state, because there's no God to keep it separated. Jesus Christ is the one who's King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and he is the one who judges nations in the present, and he will make sure that his forms of government that are given through biblical
The Babylonian Empire was not a godly government. God still used Babylon. God used Babylon to conquer Israel for turning against him. God used the Babylonian Empire to conquer Israel, Judea. He used them to conquer Judea and Israel. The Babylonian Empire was definitely not a godly nation, but God still used them. They're still used by God. And so, like, for 8 years in a row, Ukraine was persecuting Christians for 8 years in a row. Murdering people for 8 years. Genociding people for 8 years. You don't think God will not use... And again, Russia is not a perfect government. Like I mentioned before, Russia is a secular state. It's a secular state. Russia is not controlled by the church. It's not. And still, you don't think God might not use this war against Ukraine? Also, like you're a Protestant, so you think godly form of government is libertarianism. So whatever. It's already past midnight. Like the first live stream, the part 1, I did it. I don't know what time. Well, I started at 9:30 at night. Then I was ranting for like an hour. Then I took a break because the internet cut out. And right now it's already like 1:48 in the morning here on the East Coast. And wow, just the ignorance of these people is just astonishing. Like, and I don't hate them. Like, I don't have hatred for these people. And like, I should be graceful, but at the same time, just the levels of ignorance and stupidity are just astonishing. The reason why it's so important for me is because these are high caliber people, like online. They have a huge following online. And they're misleading so many people. They're leading them astray. And like, this guy's probably not doing this on purpose. Like, this guy, based on the way he talks, I believe most likely he's just ignorant and just needs an education. So I'm not hating this guy. I just feel sorry for him. I'm just trying to express how I truly feel and want his followers to understand and him to understand that he is just wrong. He needs to study more history before he can make ignorant statements like this.
Standards will ultimately survive in the end. But what I find interesting is if you think like Islam or even Hinduism with a caste society, then we go to a false belief of this Russian Orthodox when there's no true God.
False belief? Are you serious, dude? Oh. Typical Protestant nonsense. Okay. Doesn't matter if it's Russian, Greek, Serbian, Polish, Bulgarian, Romanian, American. The Orthodox Church has apostolic succession from 33 AD. Jesus Christ was the founder. And then you have the apostles who had students who became bishops, who had succession from the apostles. And this continued on for 2,000 years. And the church survived for 2,000 years prior to the founding of America and its Protestant belief system. 2,000 years of history. Russia's Christianity Russian Orthodox Church, 1,000 years of history. 1,000 years of history in the Russian Orthodox Church. And this guy is, and new beliefs popping up, like the Russian Orthodox Church. Wow, just the confidence. What bothers me is the confidence, too. Guys, not all confidence is masculine. Just saying. A lot of confidence is straight up based on stupidity and foolishness. And that's not masculine traits right there. That is just feminine. Okay, I'm basically... Okay, ooh, the average Russian. I wonder what his opinion of the average Russian is. Let's check this out.
If we have someone who is an educated Russian, okay, where did he get his education? Probably from the Russian public school, followed by a Russian university. I mean...
Well, if you ask the average American where he get his education from, the average public school in America or a U.S. university, okay.
I follow Russian professors on academia. I see what they're writing. Those aren't the kind of guys that I would trust with the generation of humans, right? I'm not convinced that.
Well, I watch American professors here in America, and I definitely would not trust them with a generation of humans myself. So, okay.
The average Russian is necessarily a good guy in the sense of how we're obviously on a theological sense. We are all born spiritually dead and in need of a savior. We're all born on a path to hell, and every single last one of us needs to be detoured and believe in Christ, right?
Yeah.
Wow, this ignorant guy. Here's the thing. I watch Russian shows. I watch Russian hosts. And I have friends in Russia and everything, and I have relatives in Russia and Ukraine and in other places around the world. But here's the thing. Majority of Russians who are even pro-Putin, they don't hate American people. They don't hate the American people. Watch any Russian TV show, right? They do not allow any verbal attack or insult towards the average American. They don't tolerate that. They openly express on their television networks, they do not have any hatred towards the average American. They do not have hatred towards the average American. This guy is saying the average Russian is not necessarily a good guy. Wow, and Cultish, the host of Cultish, guess what? He's not stopping him saying, okay, hold on, bro, you're going too far here. He's not doing that. Wow. So here's the thing. On national television in Russia, TV show hosts do not allow anyone to insult the average American. They straight up tell people there's a difference between their average American who's working class just like we are and the politicians in the government. That's the mentality of Russians right there. They don't have this hatred. They don't have this hatred towards Americans. Now, some of that hatred did grow, some of that hatred did escalate because of the war, because of the propaganda that our mainstream media is spreading, that this guy is promoting. So yes, there will be some Russians who are starting to have some hatred towards Americans, even regular average Americans, yes. But still, like most Russians, they don't have this hatred or this ignorant attitude towards the average American. By the way, a lot of the Russians watch Tucker Carlson. Did you know that Russians have access to YouTube and they could watch American shows? And did you know that many Russians tune in to Tucker Carlson? The average Russian tunes in to Tucker Carlson. This guy doesn't know this. This guy doesn't know this. Pathetic. Pathetic loser.
That's what I want most for all of my loved ones. It's what I want the most for every stranger and for all of my enemies. If Russians would believe in Christ and have a consistent worldview, they wouldn't be able to fall for this nonsense that's going on in Russia because
So basically, you're assuming Russians have a false theology, therefore their geopolitics are wrong. But it could also be the opposite. Okay, so that's not an argument for anything. That's not an argument for anything. That's not an argument for the Russian side or for the Western side. That's like an argument for nobody. Okay, basically you have to study geopolitics first to like understand what's really going on in the world. Now, like theology could play a role, but still it doesn't like there are not all Russian Orthodox. I mean, sorry, not all Russians who support the war, for example, are Orthodox. I mentioned that earlier. Not all Russians who support the war are Orthodox. There are atheists too, okay? And there are some Protestants. And there are Westerners who support the Russian war. There are many people, right-wingers, who support the war in Russia. So what does this have to do with theology? There are many right-wing Protestants in the West who support Russia. Wow. But this ignorant guy, wow. Full of himself. This soy boy cuck is full of himself.
It's a contradictory worldview with the Bible.
2,000 years of church history is contradictory to the Bible. I get it. Typical Protestant nonsense. Okay.
Kill this person because I hate them. It would be actually, I'm going to fight to defend my family because I love them and I'm supposed to because that's who God has given me. In terms of a relationship between two countries at war, I would see it would be a very similar thing. I think the way to break the bonds of not hating individuals is to understand that we should have a commonality as individuals, right?
Look, the guy before you, bro, was basically borderline supporting hatred, bro. So yeah, don't give me this BS.
Fallen, of course, but like Paul was saying, and Jacoby, that's why he's living in Ukraine, is that to preach the gospel, to save the
the bad around.
if any of our listeners
Oh, by the way, this guy right here, that's Jacoby. So
felt led to like donate or anything like that to the ministry that you have out there, where could they go?
okay, guys, don't donate to their ministry. I will not support this satanic ministry right here and their lies. Sorry, this is Antichrist BS right here. This is all Antichrist. So, okay, I basically covered most of the video. I didn't get into this part, American nationalism, but the religious fervor, got a little bit into that. Media, I skipped that one. I was kind of yeah, I believe a lot of my arguments were probably repetitive, so sorry for that to all of you who are watching. But yeah, also, congratulations. The software that I've been using, it's also experimental. I've never used it before, and so I'm trying to figure out if this software is better than the previous software that I used. So we'll see. Well, I just want to say, if you disagree with me, fine. God bless you. You know, Jesus Christ loves you, and the Orthodox Church is the only true church, guys. And if you want true geopolitical knowledge, outside of this BS that you heard from Cultish, wow, I'm just really surprised how low Cultish went. Basically, I would recommend you should look up Scott Ritter, Judge Andrew Napolitano, Douglas McGregor, Jackson Hinkle, the Gray Zone, look up Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate, Jimmy Dore. And here's the thing, some of these people that I listed, I don't agree with their domestic political policies, I don't. But geopolitically, they've been spot on. And here's the thing, these are English-speaking people. I could get information from Russian and Ukrainian bloggers. I speak 3 languages. I understand 3 languages. But unfortunately, for a lot of you English speakers, you've been unfortunate to hear only English-speaking information. And so that's why the bloggers that I've listed for you are limited. But there's other resources out there. You guys go to Telegram. There's a lot of cool Telegram channels that have all sorts of videos and people who speak English who could translate videos for you guys, and you could understand what's going on and so forth. But yes, you don't need to listen to this BS. I mean, you should listen to it, of course, if you want to get this perspective, but also understand that there's alternative views, and so therefore, yeah, I'm just very disappointed in this whole video. It's just full of lies, full of major lies. And did I want to add anything else? Yeah, I think I'm pretty much done with this one. I should be going to bed soon. Alrighty then. Well, God bless you guys. Have a good night. Take care, and wait for my next stream that I'll do. Have a good night.